It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Biola's head diving coach, Coach Elizabeth MacKay. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me on your podcast, Brandon.
Yeah. Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching in college swimming and diving?
Well, you see, I dove when I was quite young, and diving was really a passion for me. I mean, if you brought me to a pool and there was a diving board, I mean, even if it was really, really hot, the only thing that went through my mind is going to the diving board, jumping in and getting out. And to this day, when I go to swim, I'm not a real swimmer. I'll jump in, refresh myself, get out of the pool. And if there's a diving board, I might try to dive in. But, so passion has always been there. What I learned through my diving career when I was young is clearly what made me the person I am today. The experiences that I went through as an athlete are clearly things that drive who I am today. So going back to coach college sport is giving back to a sport that gave me so much. And I want to make sure that kids benefit from what I've learned so that same thing happens to them.
What was that experience like for you going to college at St. Lawrence?
Okay. St. Lawrence College is Quebec City because I'm originally from Quebec. So our education system varies a little bit from the US system in the sense that we go from K to 11, and then we have 2 years of college, which is St. Lawrence College in my case, and then we go to 3 years of university or more if you go to master's or whatever. So St. Lawrence College is like the grade 12 and the first year of college here. So I'll tell you, at that time, I was full into diving. So I had to juggle the studies with the sports. And in that time, we didn't have sports programs in the sense that you had to have a full-time schedule at school and you had to do a full-time schedule at diving. So there was pressure, but I was able, with the help of my family and friends, to clearly overcome all those challenges and get to university after a few years,
For you, what was that experience like getting to compete on the national level for Canada?
Well, first of all, to represent my country was, first of all, a very big honor. And to do it in the international level, which was the Pan Am Games, the Commonwealth Games, the World Games, unfortunately, the Olympics, which were boycotted in 1980. It's a great privilege to be able to represent your country, and that's how I did it. I always wanted to do my best, of course, like any athlete that goes on the world scene. We're already focused on doing our best. But having the opportunity to represent my country in high-level competitions was very driving for me.
For you, what was that experience like also being a commentator in the 84 Olympics?
Yeah, 84 Olympics. Well, the fact that I didn't make it to the Olympics in 1980 because we boycotted with the Americans. The Americans boycotted as well with a number of other countries. And I couldn't make it to the 1984 Olympics because I was injured. I had torn a shoulder and I dove for 2 years with straps and tapes and everything. But in 1983, it was evident that my shoulder was not hanging on. So I had to, like we say, throw the towel in. So that's what I did. But CBC, which is the Canadian Corporation, Radio Broadcasting Corporation, reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to comment, if I would be available to do the commenting for the 1984 Olympics, which was like nothing more I'd love to do, you know. So I actually got to live the Olympic Games, not as an athlete, but as a commentator. And that was amazing that they gave me that opportunity. And I will always be thankful to them for giving me that opportunity. But what was really interesting is that, of course, I had a lot of teammates worldwide that were there, but I had a lot of Canadian teammates that were there. And on the 3 meter, the Canadian diver on the female side, Sylvie Bernier, was a friend of mine and had dove with me since we were really young. So she goes up and she wins the Olympics. So I'm commenting and just telling everyone, listen, me and Sylvie were on side of the pool deck. We were dreaming of hearing the national anthem, being on the highest step of the podium. And she's done it. She's done it. I was just so thrilled. I just lived the moment with her. And to this day, I'm thankful for her for giving me that chance as well to live the Canadian. I tell you, when she was on the podium, I had goosebumps. I mean, I was just ecstatic for her. So it was just a great experience for me.
For you, what was that transition like, going from being a commentator at the Olympics to getting into coaching swimming?
Well, actually, coaching swimming, coaching diving is something that, as a diver, I always did, because as you are a high-level diver, a lot of the junior kids are looking up to you. So you have to, as a team member, help them go when they're learning new dives. You have to coach them or encourage them and, you know, try to facilitate these things. So as an athlete, you're kind of coaching as well. So coaching for me started when I was a diver at a high level, not when I was a child, but when I was on the national team, of course, we started coaching. And at that time, we had to coach junior divers that were coming in. So the novice divers that were coming in, part of our responsibility was to coach for an hour and a half, once, twice, or 3 times a week. So that's how I got into diving in Pointe Claire and to coaching, which was in Pointe Claire.
For you, what was that experience like, bringing over that professional experience over to the college level?
Well, I have had a very active professional career outside of sports, even though they were both kind of going sideways. But I had communication jobs in various. When I quit diving, I started to work for the Minister of Sports in Canada, which is Minister of Sports is like a state, how do you call them here? It's a state representatives. They have ministries, they have departments. So they're head of state for that department. So I was working with the head of state for the sports department, and I had a communications diploma. So at that time, my job was to help the messaging, so coach my boss on the messaging that was required. So I've always coached in one form or another. Was it coaching communications? Was it coaching sports? Was it coaching employees that to bring them to go a little bit farther in their ideas, to try to bring the best out of them? So I've always been into it in that sense. So my professional career links very well because of the fact that it was a communication. My career was in communications, and a lot of what we do as coaches is communications. How can you communicate what you want your athlete to do? So in that sense, I'm blessed because I've had a diplomatic career, so I know how to be diplomatic and I know how to communicate my messages. So I really, that's how I'm transitioning or putting my professional career into my sports and leading by example. I want the kids to know that diving is a platform to go for something else, not to stop there. Go beyond what you want to do. Aim for higher. You can do this. because there's so many challenges as a diver. I mean, you go on a 1 meter. The first time you're on 1 meter and the coach tells you, okay, do a front 1.5. You've never done a front 1.5. Of course you're scared. So how do you deal with that? You know, and it's the same thing when you go to 3 meter. You're scared to do new dives. So what I want is my athletes to know that when we ask you to do something, it's because we believe you're ready for it. And I think that once you've gone through this, you have to be confident in your capacities and just shoot for the stars. You can do this. And that's what I try to implement in all my divers, the juniors as well as the seniors, especially those that are finishing university or college here, and they're going to enter the working world. Well, I really want them to understand that what they've been through throughout their college years is going to serve them in their capacity of being great contributors to society. And they can do this because they've been through a lot. The victories and the defeats. And, you know, when you're extremely happy and you're very disappointed, how do you deal with that? So that's what I'm trying to inculcate into all my divers. University, Harvard, Westlake, the club kids, that's what I try to do with them.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a diving coach?
Okay. Well, actually, every morning I'm coaching at Biola. I coach the Biola team for 2 hours in the morning. So and that's six days a week minimum. And we have sometimes double workouts. So I come back at 1 o'clock and have another 2-hour workout with that. So we go through the workout. So they start by warming up. Then they do dry land exercises. Depending on who the athlete is, I'll have them work on core exercises or flexibility, because those are two issues that you have. Sometimes they lack a little bit of strength, so you need to give them a little bit of more of muscle weightlifting training, I think is the word. So you give them a little bit weightlifting, and others you have to develop the fast twitch muscles compared to the slow twitch muscles. So I start with a good warm-up with exercises that are particular to each one. And then we go on the diving boards and start with the basics and run through. So we do that in the morning and in the afternoon. And then we have during the week a period where we go through dry land exercises only, which is a trampoline, mats, the belts, you know, because diving, there are a number of equipments that you have now. You have belts on a trampoline where the kids can learn to do their dives in the trampoline with you holding them on a rope. And we're really, really lucky because the teams that I work with right now have access to facilities where there is we call it water belts. So they have belts, but they are built over the 1 meter board and over the 3 meter board. So the kids can actually do the dives in the water until they're comfortable with them. And then you say, okay, we're going to take the belts off and we're going to go to the big pool and we're going to turn the bubbles on and you can do it there. So it's a lot safer. The kids are not as scared of getting hurt or not getting hurt, but smacking. You know, diving, you have a chance, you might smack once in a while. So I hated smacking. I try to not have my kids smack the most I can, but I can't stop it all the time. But we have access to a lot of equipment that clearly helps the kids do the dives, skipping the smacks. Some of the smacks out of the dives. So yeah, that's how I do this.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've started to build for the diving program?
Yeah, sure. Well, throughout the teams I work with, it's the same kind of culture. And so it's the pursuit of excellence. I want them to be the best they can in and out of school, in athletics, in academics, and in their personal. I really want them to be the best they can be. You know, I want them to embrace challenges, you know. So that's something that I bring them to do. And I want them to, throughout that time when they're pursuing excellence, I want them to solve one problem at a time. Because as you're going forward, you want to do something. You've got a lot of things that are the school, the training, everything's coming in here. How can you deal that? So you have to teach the kids, you have to separate, and you have to find solutions for, you have an exam tomorrow, fine. What do we need to do to get you ready for the exam? Oh, you have a competition after tomorrow. How do we get you ready for the competition at the same time? So there's a game plan so that the kids understand that they can do one thing and focus on it at a time, you know? So that's what I try to do when I talk about the pursuit of excellence. The other thing is resilience through adversity. You know, we're all scared. I mean, you start riding a bicycle, you're scared of falling, but you do it. So that's it. So I try to have my athletes face their fears, and their setbacks head on. Okay. This year, I had one of my college athletes who was getting ready to go to the Pacific, our conference on the West Coast, and he was getting ready to go to NCAA's because he had made the score, so he was going. But 2 weeks before conference, he fell and he dislocated his elbow. Well, I can tell you, I knew he was feeling so bad because he really wanted this. He was on top of his game. He was in the best shape he had been in years. And I knew that it hurt that he didn't go to the conference or to NCAA's. But I was able to use my Olympic experience to tell him, listen, it's awful. Next year is another year. You'll get there. Now, there's nothing you can change within this. So my Olympic experience certainly helped him make it through that setback. So that's one thing I do. Then, of course, there's team building and morale. You know, we're in a swim and dive club. I mean, a swim and dive team. And when it's just a club divers, it's the same thing. I want the team to be cohesive. I want them to encourage themselves. I want them to encourage each other when they're learning new dives. I want them to congratulate each other after a competition. I want them to help a kid that didn't do so great and is, you know, is crying or whatever. Go out and see them, reach out. And so that's one thing I work on. And of course, through it all, the objective is holistic in the sense that I want the kids to be able to face the challenges that life is going to bring upon them after going through the diving. Having tools and skill sets that are going to help them go through life, being capable of solving problems, developing a strategic thinking, and so on and so forth. So that's what in general, what I try to do with the culture that I try to implicate or transfer to my athletes.
As an Olympian and also a college coach, how have you been able to intertwingle the two into each other?
Well, as an Olympian, like I said, getting to be on the Olympic team is ups and downs and ups and downs. So the coaching is the same thing. And that's what I try to help the kids learn too, is that sometimes training goes really well. Sometimes it doesn't go really well because you're changing some things that makes it that the dive isn't great because you're changing some things. But it'll take a little bit of time before you can, you know. So that's, I would say that's how I use my Olympic side and like you said, intertwingle it with the coaching side.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
Oh gosh, we've got a couple of teams. There are some changes that are going around. So Azusa Pacific, Cal Baptiste, Pomona. So we've got a lot of teams in our division, and of course we all have. There's Claremont as well. So no, we have a lot of coaches, and I'm having a great time with them.
What is that atmosphere like at home when teams come to your home facility versus going away?
Well, of course, for divers and swimmers, it's the comfort of being at home. Especially for divers, there are diving boards, and all divers don't like to go on new boards. So when we have competitions and they're in our pool, our divers are really, really comfortable with that. Now, the swimming and diving competition is incredible because both they have pop-ups that go up. The side of the pool is completely filled with pull-ups of the various teams that are on the invite, and it's just an incredible atmosphere around the pool. It just lightens up the whole pool.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes? And as a coach, what do you look at in them?
Well, first of all, when divers are interested in coming to the school, they have to fill out the forms, and then the head coach reaches out to them and has a talk, and then from there on in, depending on the interest of the student athlete or something, they're invited for a tour of the school and to see how we function. So that's about and what I recommend is, of course, that I'm coaching at club divers. The club divers need to be ready to go to university. Club diving and university or college training on a scholarship is not the same thing, because as the athletes are on the dive clubs, they're training 2 hours, an hour and a half every day, every 2 days, or every 3 days. They're not necessarily. When you're in college, you're expected to have morning and evening workouts, 2 hours. You have to go to training, weight training. So on the days that you don't have a double workouts, you have a weight training. So you do have double workouts. So you're working out 4 to 5 hours minimum a day, plus your studies. So the high school kids have to be conscious that when you go to university and to a sports program in the university, you're going to be doing a lot of it. And you have to be able to have the capacity of doing it, not getting tired after 1 hour, because it lasts. Like I said, you can have 2 workouts, and then you might have to go onto dry land, and, so it takes a lot of, they have to know what they're getting into. They can't say, well, I don't want to do this today. No. It doesn't work like that. Today, you got to do it because you're at university, and this is what is expected of you. So,
as a coach, what is it like seeing them putting on that jersey for the first time versus the seniors putting it on for the last time?
Oh, listen, this year we had, on the diving team, we had 3 divers that were under last year. So when they had finished their last dive, they all started crying, and so did I, because it was emotional. They'd spent 4 years doing the sport, and they did their last dive. And that's a retirement. That's a retirement. And going through a retirement as an athlete is pretty much the same as going through retirement as an adult, because you're going to end up with a lot of hours on your hands that you're going to have to do something with it. And it's hard, because as it is for an adult to retire, it's as hard when an athlete retires. So I moved around from your question. What was your question?
What's it like seeing the freshmen putting it on?
That's it. So this year, that's it. I had 3 of them who were retiring, and like I said, it was so emotional. But when you recruit someone and they're gonna put the bathing suit on, the bathing cap on, or hold the bathing cap and get the official picture, the team picture, the portrait, I mean, that's like, wow, he made it. It's the first step of accepting or going over a challenge,
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
Listen, depending on which ones. For Biola, clearly, I'm going to be working with the kids to get them ready for the 2026 conference and NCAAs. That's for sure. For the college kids, the high school kids, I'm going to be working on them so that maybe next year we can get to the CIF, which is a collegiate, the high school competitions here. And for the club kids, well, ideally, we're going to work with them and try to get them to AAU diving or USA diving meets. We already have 8 that have qualified for our junior program for the AAU Nationals. So this summer. So that's what I'm going to be working for on the fronts of all the teams that I'm working with right now.
What advice would you give those college coaches out there looking to get started in coaching on the college level?
Well, you know, you have to, I think that you have to have the passion of, if you're capable of giving the passion, you will be noticed. If your kids are having fun and they're getting better, they'll be noticed. You know, I think that's how you should be going forward. If you're a coach and you want to go to college level, make sure your kids are having fun and that they're succeeding in what they're doing.
What advice would you give those athletes looking to compete on the college level?
That's where I said a little bit before. They have to know that it's extremely demanding. College sports are extremely demanding, and the colleges have expectations towards the athletes. So they have to know that they will be giving their 100%, and they have to deliver according to the agreement they've done. They're coming in to dive for the diving program. Well, they've got to be at workouts every day. I mean, sure, they can miss, they're sick, something happens. But the point is you have to be at all workouts every day and do all the exercises and at the same time perform academically, because academics has to be there. Your sport will end. You need to be able to do something. So academics is a priority. Let's try and work those two things in parallel.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find the program at on social media along with you at?
Pardon me, I didn't get that, Brandon.
Where can my listeners find the program at along with you at on social media?
Oh, well, we have, Biola has, of course, Instagram postings. It's got its biola.edu, which is the school website. And on that, and on Dive Live and Dive Meets, which are programs that tell you where the competitions are and where you can go see them.
Thank you again, Coach, for your interview, and best luck in your future as the head diving coach at Biola.
Thank you so much, Brandon, for having me. I really appreciate that, and I wish you a terrific day.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at @talk_Brandon. You can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.